The Senate Judiciary Committee will investigate claims former President Trump tried to force the Justice Department to prosecute his political enemies and to help his allies. The New York Times was first to report the committee's chairman, Democratic Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, sent a letter to Attorney General Garland requesting documents related to accusations made by Geoffrey Berman in his new book. Berman was the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York for more than half of Trump's presidency. The Trump appointee claims he then was fired by then Attorney General Bill Barr because his work threatened Trump's re-election campaign. And former U.S. Attorney Geoffrey Berman joins us now live. His new book, out today, titled Holding the Line: Inside the Nation's Preeminent U.S. Attorney's Office and Its Battle with the Trump Justice Department. Good morning. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start with you on the news, your reaction to Senator Durbin saying we're going to launch investigations based on the material in your book.
Well, I welcome the investigation. The conduct that occurred was so outrageous and unprecedented. A light needs to be shined on it. That's the purpose of my book, is to allow people to understand the outrageous and improper political interference by Trump's Justice Department in the Southern District cases.
A lot of what you write about in the book was suspected by many people, reported on some of it in real time, but you get into such detail as the person who was actually on the receiving end of those phone calls from the Attorney General. So let's tick through some of those. We can talk about Michael Cohen. You got a phone call asking for his conviction to be overturned because it might impact negatively Donald Trump. It might impact the midterm elections. Walk us through what happened and how unusual it is in your long experience as a prosecutor to get a phone call like that.
Well, the office was pursuing the charges arising out of Michael Cohen's guilty plea. So they were campaign finance charges. And what happened was, as soon as Barr took over, he shut down that investigation for 2 months, purportedly to analyze whether there was a legal basis for it. Granted, bear in mind, Michael Cohen had already pled guilty to these charges. So the idea would be, let's look at this, let our Office of Legal Counsel take a look at this, and if it doesn't bear up to scrutiny, we may have to withdraw Michael Cohen's guilty plea, which is completely unprecedented. And the other thing that Barr did in connection with the Cohen case is he tried to install the U.S. attorney from the Eastern District of New York, Rich Donoghue, tried to install him to oversee our investigation arising out of the Michael Cohen guilty plea. He tried to control the situation that way with someone who he trusted, and we fought, we pushed back, and that never happened.
So you said this is without precedent. What was your reaction at first when you realized what was coming at you, what you were up against, which is to say that the Attorney General of the United States was acting at the direction of Donald Trump, crossing that line, and trying to shut down investigations, to initiate new investigations that might be helpful to the president? How do you, as a federal prosecutor, continue to do your job with that kind of downward pressure?
Well, like many people who stayed in their job despite their misgivings, I decided to take the appointment and to try and keep my job because I thought it was best for the Southern District of New York and the country. There were about 220 prosecutors, what we call assistant United States attorneys in the Southern District of New York. None of them quit because of Trump, and they needed someone to lead the office.
So the Southern District U.S. Attorney's Office is a legendary office filled with career prosecutors. Was there a tipping point in the office with all of this pressure from Washington, D.C., from Bill Barr specifically, the Attorney General? Was there a tipping point where people came to you and said, we have to do something, you have to speak out, but we can't continue to go on like this?
Well, my job as the United States Attorney was to run interference with all of these improper, attempts to, to go after, to prosecute Donald Trump's political enemies and to assist his friends. And so what I did was, I tried to keep the rest of the prosecutors doing their jobs, keeping their heads down, doing the work that needed to be done so that we remained a productive office, and we were extremely productive. So there were very few number of people who actually knew at the time what was going on. And one of the reasons I wrote the book was to throw a light on it, for transparency.
So was it ever verbal to you from Bill Barr or some deputy attorney general under Bill Barr say, hey, let's take a look at John Kerry?
Oh, let me tell you what happened with John Kerry. You know, President Trump attacks John Kerry in 2 tweets saying that Kerry engaged in possible illegal conversations with Iranian officials regarding the Iran nuclear deal. The very next day, the Trump Justice Department refers to the Southern District of New York the John Kerry criminal case. 2 tweets from the president, and the John Kerry criminal case becomes a priority for the Department of Justice.
When you say referred, how did they refer it? By paper, by phone call? How do they do it?
Initially, it was a meeting at the National Security Division within the Department of Justice, followed up by, phone calls. And so, and the statute they wanted us to use was enacted in 1799 and had never been successfully prosecuted. So for about 220 years, this criminal statute has been on the books and not a single conviction. So we investigated. John Kerry was entirely innocent. But yet the Justice Department pushed us and pushed us and pushed us. And when I declined, Bill Barr did not take no for an answer. He referred the case to another district. Fortunately, that district didn't charge John Kerry either.
Jonathan Lemire has a question for you. John?
Jeffrey, good to see you this morning. You touched upon a few moments ago the dilemma that a lot of people in government faced under the presidency of Donald Trump, national security officials, law enforcement officials, et cetera. Do they stay with it? Do they stay the course, or do they leave? So I want to get you to talk a little bit more about your decision to stay in your post for as long as you did, but then also you waited until now to come forward with some of these stories.
Well, they wanted me to quit. That would have, really gone right into their playbook, because had I quit, I would not have been replaced by my deputy, which is the normal course of things. I would have been replaced by an outsider who Barr trusted. So I felt it was important for the office, for the integrity and independence of the Southern District of New York, to stay in the job. Now, as far as, when I went public, when Barr attempted to fire me in June of 2020, I did not go quietly. It was an extremely noisy exit. I issued a press release to the country saying exactly what Bill Barr was trying to do and exactly how he had crossed the line. I used language from the obstruction of justice statute. So, and it was because of that very noisy exit that I was succeeded not by the outsider who Bill Barr wanted to succeed me. I was succeeded by Audrey Strauss, a person of incredible integrity and an icon of the bar of New York.